This episode is sponsored by Free Market Kids. Join the league of families who are transforming family time into unforgettable Bitcoin learning experiences. With our Hodl Up Bitcoin mining board game, you're not just playing, you're building bridges, creating memories, and unlocking the brilliance of the future one block at a time.
I just started with the most basic thing of drawing a line and just filled the whole page with this one line, and it never crossed or touched itself. And I looked at it afterwards and I thought, this looks actually really nice.
Hey everybody, welcome to Untitled Chapter. I wanted to roll out this new thing. I'm talking to all these women Bitcoiners about their Bitcoin journey, but if there's something in our conversation that is unusual or I'm curious about, I wanted to roll out bonus episodes so people would have something other than Bitcoin stories to learn about, almost like a lifestyle section of the newspaper. So that's the way I'm seeing this conversation. You're not necessarily going to tie it to Bitcoin, but it's just a part of your life and it's really interesting, so I wanted to explore it. Okay, so everybody already knows who you are, Julia, and so we'll just jump right in to talk about your art. Okay, so Julia, I went on your website and I checked out your art. I love the statement that you had on the top page where you said the art comes out of you and your hand follows. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that's really how it all started. And I remember the moment because I was young and still single and was in the year 2000 or 2001, 2000, I think. And I traveled to Australia because I'd made a contact there and I thought, hey, I'm young and free and let's just go. And so I got my visa for 3 months and went over and visited this person, and we had a pretty wild time. I won't go into details, but not relationship wise. It was, just party time. Anyway, I was sitting at Bondi Beach with a piece of paper and a pen in hand and thought, okay, well, what could I possibly do? And I just started with the most basic thing of drawing a line and I just filled the whole page with this one line, and it never crossed or touched itself. And I looked at it afterwards and I thought, this looks actually really nice. And so I did my first ones. They were just filling out the page with this flowing line. And later on, I started to do the shapes where the line would describe the object.
The line would describe the object. That is such an interesting way of looking at it. So, okay, as we were talking about before, your style, the one that you just described, using one line that doesn't cross itself to describe an object. I have seen a lot of artwork like that over the last few years. You started this in the year 2000. Mm-hmm. Did you start this movement?
I have no idea. I mean, what I did when I came back and I started having a little collection of originals, I did print posters and postcards, and I just sold them at the local art and crafts and gypsy markets. I went every weekend with my little stall and started to flog my work. And that was fun for a while. And eventually I got my website, and, who knows, it's just, it's just a line. I mean, everybody can use a black line to draw things, obviously. But yeah, it was my thing 20 years ago.
So when you first started to show your artwork to people at your stall, what were some of the responses from those early days?
People loved it. Once they understood what it really was, i.e. the one line. At first, you just see a black and white piece of work. You don't know, and then you look in detail and you probably read the logo, which is OneLineDesign. And then there's usually the moment of suspense when they start thinking and looking again, and then they ask, is this really one line? And I would say yes. Take all the time you need. And then, I did sell quite a bit. Sure.
Okay, so walk me through the process of creating a one-line artwork. I've looked at some of the pieces you have on your website and they get very intricate. So do you see the image in your mind and then just start tracing the outline? Do you start from a dot in the center and you work your way out? What is that process for you?
Usually I find a photo or an image that speaks to me. and I will then take that and copy it onto my piece of cardboard or paper that I'm working on, and I will outline it with a very fine pencil line. I will draw the object, or whatever, if it's got writing on it, or and that gets, then later on I will erase that very, very fine pencil lines just to help me remember where I'm at. And then I just think about where do I want to bring in the black line and where do I want to take out the black line, and then I start.
Is each artwork literally a you sit down, you start, and you finish project, or is it something that you come back and fill in and come back and fill in?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it doesn't mean that I draw the whole thing in one setting, but it's not something where I can't change my mind in the middle of it, kind of. I can't really change the design around once I've decided on it. But I can take my pencil or my ink pen off the paper, yes.
For something like that, where it's not like you're layering on like oil painting or even watercolor, you almost have to be so strategic when you're planning out where you put your pen down. So is that just the way that you see things? You know how some artists, they just see the world in a certain way that is just different from everybody else. Is that the way you see the world?
I don't know. I've never looked through anybody else's eyes. How do I know how you see the world? I don't. I mean, yeah, but you have to be strategic in a way, because, I've messed. It also happened that I made a mistake and then I can throw the whole thing away. Because if I put myself into a dead end kind of thing, then that's it. So I do have to think about how I'm going to pull that through. Yes.
So if you're creating a piece of art like one of the ones you have done on the horses, how long does it take usually from beginning to end?
So you're talking about the horse head, I guess. Yes, that's a bigger one. So beginning to end, if I have the time to work on it, I would say between 1 and 3 days.
I mean, it's very intricate and very, very beautiful. You also have two other styles. One is with dots and one is just with literally straight lines.
And another one, which is the scribbly
The
line. I don't
scribbly
know if
one,
you've
that's
seen it.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah.
it's vertical lines, dots, and scribbles. Yes.
Okay, so the vertical lines. Do you also outline what you want in the middle in the negative space and then just fill in lines in the Okay, got it. Got it.
Yeah.
What about the dots? I love the dot, especially that child with the head in his knees.
Yeah, for me personally, that was probably one of my, I would call it masterpieces, because the dots are way more time consuming. So, that way more. It takes hours and hours and hours because you can't slur. Every dot has to be put in a precise way. And that took me many hours. I don't know. I didn't count the time, but yeah, it was a very big piece. It's also quite a large original. So it's probably 60 by 80 or something. That's a lot of little dots.
Are you selling the original or just the reprints?
At the moment, I'm really not selling anything much because I find it really quite hard to sell my own work. Well, artists are often pretty bad at selling their own art. But I decided to leave the website up and running because I want people to be able to contact me through it and to see it and so on. So reprints, yes, definitely. Originals, no, I don't sell. I have given a few away. I have had one commission work, which obviously I did sell, but only how many of my paintings did I actually give away? Maybe two or three. It had to be very precious people that gained an original. So yeah, they're mostly here in my house.
So when you choose something to work on, to create on, is it on canvas? Like what kind of
No, I've worked on canvas, but I prefer to work on a really strong white cardboard.
Okay,
It's a
so
it,
when you're deciding what image to create, what kind of criteria do you have? No, maybe criteria is not the right word for an artist, but how do you feel led to create what you create on paper?
Well, I must find the image attractive and inspiring. Hey, could come from anywhere really. I just need to feel a connection to that visual piece of art, whether it's a photo or somebody else's work or whatever it may be.
And is this something that you said it was kind of a dormant part of your life. People, when they don't have the opportunity to self-express, feel like something is missing. So do you have any of those feelings right now? Is there a particular reason why you stopped?
Well, at the time it was a very strong pull, and I really needed to do this. So I had a very intensely creative time for a while in my early 20s. And then life went on and it faded out of my life again. But I'm naturally a very creative person. So it doesn't really matter to me if I build my house or if I paint a picture. This is all creation. So I don't feel like I'm lacking creative outlet, because my whole life is a creative outlet, if you will.
I love that. So how are you expressing yourself creatively these days?
Well, I'm raising children, and I've created a family. That's not bad. I have designed my own house. I have designed my own piece of land, and I don't know. It's just I feel like creation is also manifestation. So you create your life, you manifest your life in a way. So I feel that's all creative outlets. It doesn't have to be pen and paper.
You said you created your house. Did you draw it out and have your husband build it? What do you mean by that?
I bought the house before I met my husband. Just before, funny enough. So I bought a ruin. It was just the outer walls standing, and it had completely collapsed in on itself. But I've fallen in love with the place and the house and the location, and so I went on to this adventure, and I took what was left, and I believe I created something beautiful out of it. I mean, I get a lot of positive feedback from people who come here, and they say, "Oh, this is so beautiful," and well done. And so yeah, it was a ruin, and now it's our home.
So did you build it by hand, or did you just sketch it out and hire contractors? How did you do that?
Yeah, I sketched it out and hired a contractor. Yes, I mean the rough stuff. Later on, then obviously a house never finishes, but we did lots over the years, bit by bit. But the coarse, rough first draw, i.e., putting the roof on, the ceilings, and putting the windows in and everything, that was done by a contractor. But then all the interior, the tiles, etc., that was done by us mostly over the years.
So is there any plan for you to return to the one-line artwork that you were working on, or is it just going to be something that you did in the past?
We'll find out. If I don't have the plan, but then I don't have many plans, and life just hands them to me. So I'm open. At the moment, I've still got. I don't. At the moment, it's not the right time for me to sit down and draw. But when the time comes, I will know and I will draw. Who knows?
And you homeschool your kids. So what kind of art projects do you have them experience?
Yeah, that's interesting. The kids actually, because we have a great art teacher in the village, and she runs weekly art classes over the school terms. And she's really, really offered them a great variety of projects and approaches. And my daughter is very much, you can see my work in there. She does intricate black and white drawings. It's really interesting. And actually thinking back to my own schoolwork, and I did keep a few of my school pieces, I was always drawn to intricate black and white stuff. So it runs in the family. Yeah.
Do the two of you sit down side by side and draw together, or do you work sometimes together in the same art piece?
No, she does her work, and I'm not actually drawing at the moment. So, but that's okay. I appreciate her work a lot, and I tell her how much it is like my work. And so my son is very different. He's very bold and colorful, and yeah, just a completely opposite style, really.
I love how free children are when they draw. I have pictures from my son when he was 5 or 6, and it's just piece of paper and a pen, and he would draw these elaborate battle scenes from aliens and stuff like that. And there was no fear. Like every stroke is so free, and the images are really full of emotion. Versus when they get older, they start to critique themselves and the lines get less and less bold. And then eventually they just say, oh, I'm not an artist. I can't draw. And I think that's really very sad. And I keep telling my kids, nobody's judging you. This is just you drawing. Do you see that kind of tendency? You have a 12-year-old, right? So by the time my son was 12, he has stopped.
My daughter is 10, so and I haven't. I can't. I mean, yes, she's. I think she's more critical of her own work than my 6-year-old. Sure, I think that's normal, and that's not even a bad thing. I mean, you do need to look at your own and work and compare yourself, so you know where you are and where you want to get to as well. But I don't think she's being discouraged from anywhere, because that's just, it's cool, it's good where you are, and keep on working, and that's all good. It's all great. Yes.
Your homeschooling, I'm guessing you're part of a homeschooling group where you are?
Kind of, we try to do as much as possible together. Like art, for example, is an easy one, but we have different nationalities and very different levels of schooling with the kids. And so the base layer stuff, I feel that mostly the parents do it at home with their individual child, because it's very difficult to throw them all in one room and expect them to learn one language and one writing, and it just doesn't work. They need to, you need to be able to join them. So that works for excursions, history, art, all that kind of stuff. But for the basics, mathematics, writing, reading, it's probably mostly done at home individually.
So is it a situation where the parents will step up and just teach extracurricular classes? I'm trying to see if you would be willing to teach art in a setting
Me?
like that. Yeah.
No, no, not willing. Like when I see what the other mother does, she's a true artist, let's say. I just had this pull at a point in my life, but she really understands paints and colors and shapes, and she understands the whole thing. I don't. um, I just can do my thing, and I do it when I feel I need to, but I don't think that I would be a good art teacher at all. It's all about know thyself. No.
I had a friend years ago who used to write poetry, and she said the inspiration will come into her mind and she had to hurry up and jot it down because it might leave before she's all done recording it. Is that kind of what you experienced?
Yes, exactly. You gotta do what you gotta do when you feel the call, and that's that. Yeah, you can't really wait with these things. It's an urge.
So would you agree with the statement that creativity doesn't necessarily stem from inside of you, but it is also outside of you, and you become sort of a conduit for that inflow of information?
Yes, I think so. Yes, totally. That's how I feel mostly when I did my work. It's like, I don't know where this comes from. It's just something I feel I need to do, and so I did.
Cool. So your website is called
OneLineDesign.
OneLineDesign. Okay. I just want to.
OneLineDesign, and then it's .info. Unfortunately, I was mal-advised at the time, and we didn't buy the .com, which was stupid, but there. We've got .info. OneLineDesign.info.
Okay. And you are
Yeah.
still selling prints for your artwork.
I could, in theory. I would have to think long and hard about it. But yeah, I
Okay.
still have some pieces around the house, prints, which I could send out and sell.
Okay. And what would you like to tell aspiring artists out there who don't think that they're necessarily an artist, but they just feel an urge to express themselves in a certain artistic way? What would you say to those people?
Do what you have to do. You never know what comes out of it. If you feel that this is something you want to do and need to do, then do it. And don't question too much. Just try how it feels when you do it. So I find that maybe especially my work, it's I really think it does something to your brain. It's a very meditative thing. You tune, I think it's different brain waves taking over. It's like meditation in a way, I guess.
Okay, I have to ask this question because you do art. What do you think about what's happening with AI art?
AI, I mean, I love some of it. I really do love some of it. And I do think that AI art is going to take over, just as AI in general is going to take over a lot. But that, like, AI can't sculpt, or it probably will be at some point. I don't know. We will just see. It's this journey with AI is very, very interesting, huh? And I think the only thing we have is to stay open-minded, because we can't fight it. We can't get rid of it. We mustn't glorify it too much either. I think it will just find its natural place, because we've had other threats, so to say. I think the internet itself was threatening at the time of emergence to many people. It's okay. It will level itself out, I believe. I hope.
My daughter sketches, and she's super critical of her own work. And every piece of art she shows people, she would say, this was terrible. And and I kept telling her, I said, I do think you have a gift, because I hear from somewhere that if you draw a face, the hardest part about drawing the face is to make the eyes look alive. Otherwise, they look dead, right? She can make her eyes look alive. So I said, that's already something that's incredible. But no, every piece of work she does, she's like, I'm terrible. I can't draw. I'm like, yes, you can. But yeah, artists can be very critical of themselves. But I think what you did, I mean, the lines and dots, they're just very beautiful. So simple. It's minimalist, and it's such a contrast to, I think, like the AI generated stuff, which is just layers and layers of, stuff, and so colorful. And I don't know,
Yeah.
I love your style. So, and I think it's very exciting that you build your own house. That's so cool. I hope to see it one day.
Okay, cool. Let's make it happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was really fun. I hope a lot of people will go and check out your website, and maybe one day you'll pick up the pen again when the time is right. We go through seasons, and your season right now is your kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably just about to start a new job as well. So yes.
Oh yeah.
Other things to do.
Yeah, you were going to start the yoga horse therapy thing.
Horse training. Yeah. Horse training. So let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think that's so exciting.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
This episode is sponsored by Free Market Kids.